Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. So, I saw a video of Speed, the live streamer in China, right? So, I think he has a show in China, right? So, seeing the videos, fans are coming around, people are also coming around, and all that. And he is also promoting China and US. Like, they can do better. So, only for me to see videos of people, Chinese kids. But trust me, they are not kids, and I am judging them as adults because of what they did. And moreover, they don't look like kids. They are not kids, right? Tell me how you saw a black man and you are giving a black man gift and you wrapped banana for a black man and he ended up opening the banana without knowing what was inside it. And then you went ahead to start screaming monkey noise. You heard me right. I am not making all this up. Mm-mm. And then the second one brought a bouquet. He opened it only for him to find out that it is cotton inside it. Cotton. You all know the history of cotton. So tell me how someone like this meant well for you. Now, I am saying this. Black people will go to other places and encounter like rare to the season, right? And their white counterpart do not experience all of that. What is wrong with you all? Let's get into this video.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
Wait, guys.
You gotta love it.
And just like that, party's over. I was just saying, hey, the State Department's going to get feedback, right? Propaganda over. But I realized, as usual, not for black people, right? Now it's never like that for us, right? Because while Speed is over there, improving American and Chinese relations, you realize for black people in America, you still have to get reminded, even in China, that mother effers is whatever this is. Now, I know some of Speed fans are saying, oh, it's a joke, and Speed plays into the stuff. He's not exactly, the kid's young, he's not exactly the person to tell these people off. But I have another clip, which is even more damning. What are you doing, Speed?
Speed, this is for you.
What is this?
This is cotton. Speed, look.
Cotton?
Cotton.
I never got gifted cotton.
You are not player? Yeah. Can you my friend?
Why did you give me cotton?
Yeah.
W gift chat.
No, that's indeed not a W gift chat. Again, I don't know if Speed's got some mastermind technique that I don't know about, but you ain't got to react crazy either, because, but you can't, I don't know. You can't do this. You got to find a way to let them know, like, yo, y'all are crazy. As a matter of fact, y'all gonna keep giving me this nonsense, I'm not going to take gifts from any one of you, these weird racist gag gifts. Now, one thing I do like to say is, like, people are like, oh, you see, even in China, it's racist. That's why you guys have to stop calling America racist. America is one of the few places where you can tackle this head on. Doesn't mean it doesn't come with consequences. And it's understood, right? Because there are different types of people that live in America, right? Whereas in these other countries where, there are different races around. It's really just mostly a group of people which sometimes they have different cultures, different ethnic groups and tribes and things like that. But from a racial perspective, it's just one race. So don't try to twist this either. I think that's one of the things about America. I will say it can be overwhelming. It can seem like a lot, like, oh, why is always race at the forefront? Because it does have a culture in which you can tackle it head on, even though the racist people don't want to tackle it and they're going to put up resistance. And I don't want to hear any excuses. In fact, I just knocked Speed out. I don't want to hear any excuses for these kids. These aren't even kids, to be honest. You got to be you're 18 plus. You have the internet. You know what's going on. And for you to have went and got these gifts, you most likely researched the gifts to see which one would make Speed kind of react and which one is more racist than the other. So yeah, whatever. I don't know. CIA, you win. Sorry, I shouldn't have said years of Chinese propaganda was wrong. You're right. Continue to trade wars.
This type of nonsense is why influencers and content creators don't need to be around everybody. Speed is in China and he's in his car and this Asian dude gave him a banana and started making monkey noises at him. And it's so funny how these K-pop people want to take from black artists so bad, but they be racist at the same time. I don't understand it. Y'all wouldn't do this to a white influencer, but y'all wouldn't do this to black influencers. I don't understand it. And I think Speed needs to watch who he's around because this is not the first time this has happened. It was another video of a girl calling him the N-word with a mask on her face. And Speed was just standing there. He really should have just left. But it's funny how when these influencers defend themselves and say something back, they get targeted. So I think Speed needs to stop doing this nonsense because it's really making him look bad.
Speed is in China now, and there's a fucked up American translator who is basically trying to start a race war by intentionally translating something wrong. Okay, so Speed wanted to get a haircut. So he went into a hair salon and they asked the people who work there, like, can he get a haircut? And they said, wow, this is dreadlocks, right? That's not very easy to cut. For us, that's all they said. And the translator said, oh, they said your hair is raggedy. Raggedy. Okay, I have to say that this person is American, like born and raised in the US. So that's not a language barrier issue. It's not like, oh, they don't understand the historical background. They don't understand what this word actually means. They know what they're doing. And they said, oh, your hair is raggedy. Speed is so smart. He doesn't even speak Chinese, but he knew something was off and he said, no, they didn't say this. They definitely did not say this. And then he called somebody else over who also understands English and Chinese. And he asked the other person to give him a new translation. And the new translator said, no, they just said like, they don't know how to properly do your hair because after they cut it, they will have to put it back in shape, make it pretty, make it like dreadlocks again, but they don't know how to do it properly. So they rather not mess with your hair. And the first translator was on the set and like, oh no, they didn't give you a direct translation. He's just trying to use his high IQ and EQ to make everything sound better. What? They never mentioned the word raggedy. They never gave a comment on his hair. You are the one who is calling his hair raggedy. All they said is that it's not very easy to do, which is like a statement to their own skill. And I have to say, most people in China have straight hair, like straight, so straight that they don't think my hair is straight, but my hair is definitely straight. My dad, though, he has beautiful wavy hair, and one time he went to the hair salon, he came home bald because the hairdresser doesn't know how to cut any hair that's not straight. But this was 25 years ago. You can say that hairdressers, oh, they need to go and learn better, they need to be more inclusive. That's all fine, but they didn't call his hair raggedy. That's attitude issue, okay? So don't put words in their mouths. That's not okay. This is the same translator who told Speed he can set him up with some Chinese chicks.
It's really weird to me that people can be comfortable in their racism even when on live stream with thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. How are you gonna sit up here and mistranslate things that people are saying to Speed, making them seem anti-black, and then mistranslate things that he says to other people to make him seem more rude than what he actually said? And I'm not saying this as if I know Chinese. There have been several Chinese TikTokers who got on here and said what he's translating isn't correct. This is being live streamed. People who speak the language are gonna know if you're translating it correctly or not. So the fact that you thought that people weren't gonna call you out for this is fucking weird. And the fact that he tried to defend himself in the comments, sitting here saying, you know, oh, I was just joking. We both know it's a joke. Nothing's funny about being anti-black. And it's not surprising that this man is saying anti-black things and doing anti-black things on live stream, being emboldened by his popularity in China, because also his parents are rich and he's just a standard capitalist who thinks that rich people work harder than poor people and the rich shouldn't be taxed more because then they don't have an incentive to work hard. Most capitalists are racist. Shocker. I don't really care if you have a joke between him or not. Clearly, if you see this clip of Speed being in a barbershop and him asking if the barber can cut his hair, the barber actually said, you know, I don't know how to properly do your hair, so I'm not really comfortable doing it. What he mistranslated was, your hair is raggedy, right? That's not appropriate. It's not funny. It's not a joke. And also, in the clip, Speed is asking him, are you trolling me right now? Did he actually just call my hair raggedy? You can tell from how Speed is talking that he's not actually in on this quote-unquote joke that they're being rude to him, which is actually just anti-black racism. People are comfortable being racist to people like Speed because he's always going to take he's always going to be the bigger person. He's not the type of person to call people out then and there and address people's problematic behavior on stream. For better or for worse, one thing is he's got a lot going on in terms of navigating this whole world tour bullshit, but at the same time, I really wish that he was more confrontational when it comes to people being whack as fuck. But he's just doesn't really seem like a confrontational person. I honestly really want Speed to have like more realer people on stream because I feel like a lot of people on his stream are often clout chasers. And on one hand, I don't really blame him because he's traveling so much, so he's trying to be very opening and welcoming and invite a bunch of different people on stream and not really trying to do too much. So he wants people to, you know, be themselves, and he expects people to be their best selves because he tries to be his best self wherever he goes. But the reality is, you can't be the most popular streamer in the world and expect people to respect you. A lot of the people on the stream, in my opinion, are clout chasers. They try to like low-key take advantage of him, or they just act weird. They don't really act like they actually care about him or, you know, respect him as like a black person. They're just like, oh, you're a black person who has clout. Let me get some of that.
Speed is in China now, and there's a fucked up American translator who is basically trying to start a race war.
I felt like I should say something because I followed this guy on the Chinese version of TikTok for over 2 years, and I didn't even know who he was until I saw a photo of him. But Li Meiyue, he gives off the vibe of someone who's very condescending to other Chinese people. And this is coming from Chinese people who grew up in China their entire lives, never been abroad, not ABC. So for those of you who don't know, on the Chinese version of TikTok, he makes videos going up to foreigners and pretending he doesn't speak English, and then to Chinese people, he'll go up to them and then pretend he doesn't speak Chinese. And the condescending part, for example, there was this one video with this girl from Shanghai, and she spoke really good English because it was her major, I think. And he, in the middle of it, was like, are you Chinese? And then she was like, yeah. And then he was like, are you sure? What do you mean, are you sure? And it could have just been a compliment, right? And this is like a recurring thing that Chinese people who had the opportunity, for example, to grow up abroad, right, when they were little, so they don't have like a Chinese accent, or Chinese people who went to international school who are fu or dai, you know, the richer Chinese do. That's really condescending to other Chinese. And I've also seen this firsthand. And I'm not saying he does this, right? But I've seen like a Chinese student, for example, one at Fudan, which is a really top tier university in China, who's mocked other Chinese people's accent, put on like a fake Chinglish accent, and offend one of my friends who doesn't speak perfect English. And she got like really offended, obviously, and rightfully so. This is just literally just my opinion, right? But there's like those Chinese people who will show off and like do that to other Chinese people, like mock other Chinese people, obviously, when they themselves are also Chinese. And they find it funny. And I don't understand how he, especially with that girl from Shanghai, was like, are you sure you're Chinese, when he literally came up to her in perfect English. Are you sure you're Chinese? So it's just kind of ironic to me. And like when I saw this video in my For You page, and then I saw the photo, I really was not surprised, because he's always given off the vibe of someone who was always condescending to other Chinese people, just like most Chinese people with money are.
Hello, Speed. You need better interpreters. Now, let me tell you why. I've been following your trip in China closely. Frankly speaking, it's truly remarkable, and thank you for sharing the real China to the world. But there's one thing holding you back: your interpreters. Let me tell you why. At one point, when you were simply wondering what people were doing on the street, your interpreter turned your polite English language into a demanding, rude remark in Chinese. That was a minor issue, though. What came across later was far more serious. At a barbershop, when barber was simply commenting your hair's a bit difficult to manage, he twisted it into your hair is raggedy. Now that, Speed, is not translation. That's misrepresentation and, frankly, manipulation. What really concerned me, though, was his inappropriate behavior. He repeatedly used the word chick, which is offensive, when describing women, ladies, or young ladies. And he even proposed to offer you Chinese chicks, wondering if you've had enough of those. I don't know what that means. It's very disrespectful and confusing, to put it mildly. He also called your fans not normal, crazy. I think that's disrespectful. I think that's disgraceful. Now, I think you probably know this now, that interpreters not only translate the language, but also bridge the gaps, the cultural gaps. Now, your interpreters currently are not even grasping the language correctly, let alone the cultural nuances. So I think you need a better interpreter. And I happen to know someone. He's a trained simultaneous interpreter. He has a bachelor degree in translation and a master's degree from the University of Warwick in the UK. He lived and worked in the UK for over 5 years. He's interpreted for members of the royal family, cabinet ministers, leading business leaders, etc. And his name is Don Lee. He has around 100,000 American followers on social media. And if you need his help, let me know. Drop me a message. I live in Shenzhen, I live in Guangdong, and I'll be very happy to show you around.
This is all I got from this video, and I am going to ask, what was that? Excuse me. What was that banana all about? And what was that cutting all about? Now, I am not going to judge these kids as kids because they clearly knew what they did. And the translator also know what he is doing. I don't know how to say this, but Black people, you really just have to be careful. I understand Speed is a popular guy, and I love the way he reacted. He didn't act super shocked or like show it on his face. But trust me, deep down inside, he knew that those people knew what they were doing. Because for you to give somebody a banana, right, and then proceeded to do monkey sound, shows how dirty you are. You are a very dirty person. And I don't know who raised you, but whoever that raised you actually failed. The person did not do great. The person did not do a good job. They need to start all over. And if you need to be reborn again, there is need for that. Because at this point in time, you are not useful. You are not useful. Tell me how someone like that had already known that Black people, they call Black people the M word, right? And then went ahead to do the sound and then gave him the banana. This is to tell you that you are not loved anywhere. You will just have to be careful. I am not saying people shouldn't travel. Of course, you cannot say because all these things are going on all over the world. For that reason, I'm just going to be stuck and all. Of course, you're going to continue to travel. But just be careful of the people that come around you because people will mess around with your energy. But this time around, I think it's time to aura for aura. E for energy, energy for energy. When you go low, we continue to go low. It's no longer when you go high, I go low, you go low. No, go low, we go low, low. You go lower, we continue to go lower. Tell me how somebody gave somebody cut in as a gift, knowing fully well the story behind Black people and cut in. Why is it that they do this to mostly Black people? They do this to Black people but they don't do it to their white counterparts. Why? Colonial master mind. And I pray that our people around me do not have this kind of mindset, because this is a disgusting mindset. And for the translator that went ahead to make it look like speed is rude, and then continue to translate the wrong thing to speed, you have a very special place well designed for you in hell, if there is a place like hell, because that is where you belong. That is where you belong. No matter how hard a black person works, you don't work enough. No matter how good you are not good enough. No matter how great you are, there will always be someone out there looking for a way to mess around with you. It is not funny. It is not funny. Bye for now.